now we're back to normal operations and everything's under control.
Coming up tonight, details about a shooting at 29 Palms Marine Base.
I don't understand why. It just shocked me.
Plus, a hate crime in North Palm Springs. A community center is vandalized. And now we're learning details about the bizarre arrest. And coronavirus case numbers spiral out of control. And a new model projects 208,000 Americans will die from the virus by November. Well, the latest figures coming up.
Temperatures ran 5 degrees above average today, but this weekend they're going to become excessive. I'll walk you through the whole thing coming up.
This is NBC Palm Springs.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Sarah Sanchez. A Marine is dead tonight after a lockdown situation on 29 Palms Marine Base. Reports first came in this morning of an active shooter situation, and then we learned the Marine was being treated at Desert Regional Medical Center with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Olivia Sandusky has more.
Tuesday morning at 29 Palms Marine Base began with an alert of an active shooter, urging residents to shelter in place.
We received a call around 6:30 that there was a shooting incident aboard the installation. We had our military policemen come on to the scene and they took control of the situation. They, from that point, cordoned off the area.
Gates were closed and representatives for the base say military police were in communication with a Marine for almost 2 hours. But just before 9 o'clock, they announced that shelter in place was lifted and the USMC confirmed that a Marine sustained a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
We took the individual and we treated him. We took him over to Desert Regional over in Palm Springs, and we opened up the gates around that time. And now we're back to normal operations and everything's under control.
No other injuries have been reported, and the Marine has not yet been identified. The base is working to confirm a motive for the shooting.
At this time, it's currently under investigation, so I don't have that information as to whether it was intentional or malicious or anything like that.
Olivia Sandusky, NBC Palm Springs.
And officials have yet to release the name of the Marine. So are details into what led to that standoff specifically. The investigation is ongoing. The James O. Jesse Desert Highland Unity Center in Palm Springs is vandalized overnight. Police arrest a suspect, but the community is upset that the place where they gather was targeted. Our Kitty Alvarado has details.
Jarvis Crawford couldn't believe what he found when he went to work on Tuesday morning at the James O. Jesse Desert Highland Unity Center in Palm Springs.
I see glaring on the wall all these negative words and writing all over the wall. And then I noticed the front door glass was shattered. And then I noticed there's tires thrown and big rocks and boulders all over the building. It just shocked me.
Crawford says this is a predominantly black community, but this center serves everyone.
I don't understand why people feel a certain way. You know, I don't know why hate is shown in this way towards a community center. This is a center that gives back to all people.
Lavon Stagg Hope grew up here and is now raising her daughter here. She says this gathering place is there for people in her community, and vandalizing it insults what it represents.
I was shocked. I was upset. I was sad. This is our place that we come to socialize, to be a community, and to have someone come in and, in a sense, wreck that community. We don't deserve that.
Natalie Edwards says she's lived here for 44 years, and this is the first time something like this has happened. She says it hurt to see this place of refuge destroyed.
I immediately fell to tears because, you know, we've taken on so much as a community.
The Palm Springs Police Department says they arrested 45-year-old Palm Springs resident Charinda Gadakonda at the community center just after 5 o'clock Tuesday morning. They say he called them to report a fire there. There was no fire, but police found the vandalism and an unloaded shotgun, an airsoft pistol, and he had a dagger.
I could completely understand why the community's hurt, because this is not acceptable. This is a public building where people enjoy. They bring their children to, their families. I've been there for several meetings. I understand the pride in that building. And this is not acceptable in that neighborhood, and it's not acceptable anywhere, and we're going to deal with it.
Natalie's message for the person who did this says a lot about the community targeted.
Thank you, because all this do is make us stronger, and we're going to unite, and regardless of whatever, we're going to always be united.
Kitty Alvarado, NBC Palm Springs.
Police think this vandalism incident at Iron Palm Tattoo Parlor is linked to the vandalism at James O. Jesse Desert Highland Unity Center. The graffiti appears to be similar, and police now believe Gataconda spoke with them earlier in the evening after saying he was shot in Palm Springs. If you have any information about either of those incidents, the vandalism or that supposed shooting, you're asked to call the Palm Springs Police Department. We're taking a live look now at our Agua Caliente Casino cam. Beautiful shot of Palm Springs bustling out there tonight. Look at those people walking around. That's a sight we haven't seen in quite some time. NBC Palm Springs Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett is joining us with our forecast. Mike.
Hi, Sarah. It's a warm and windy night out there. We'll talk about the current conditions in a moment. This is what happened today. 112 degrees was our high temperature at Palm Springs International. As mentioning at the top of the show, that's 5 degrees above the 30-year average for today's date. But thankfully, nowhere near where it was in 2017, just 3 years ago, right when I moved here. 122. Remember, 123 is the all-time record for Palm Springs, so yeah. 112, not so bad. We are going to take a run at that this weekend. I'll show you those numbers as well. It's going to be warm. And it's also, like my aunt used to say, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. Yeah, we got some of that moving in as well. 77 was our overnight low. 76 is our 30-year average. 59 was our overnight record. Nowhere near that. Take a look at winds right now along the I-10 corridor. We are still seeing sustained winds in those mid-teens, gusts about 25 miles an hour. We were expecting that. By the time we get to midnight, everything should finally mellow out here. Seeing some single digits off towards the East Valley, the high desert, and even the mountains. In fact, it's completely calm up in Big Bear right now. Take a look at your current neighborhood weather at Palm Springs International. We got it back into double digits, but barely. Currently 96 there. Sustained winds sitting in the mid-teens. Barometric pressure holding steady at 29.69. And humidity making a big recovery. Got down to 6-7% this afternoon. Now back up to about 14, but it's still pretty dry for this time of night. Next 3 days brought to you by Comfort Air, and they will be slowly and steadily warming. In fact, in a very uniform and polite kind of way. 110, 111, 112, and then this weekend we're just going to rip the lid off. One thing I want to point out here, we're going to go from mid-70s overnight to mid-80s. I'll tell you the whole story, and more importantly, when it cools off again, coming up.
To you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
The U.S. is racing toward a startling 3 million coronavirus cases. At least 31 states are seeing a surge. And across the South, cases are increasing so fast they can't even do contact tracing. And now a new key model cited by the White House projects 208,000 COVID-19 deaths by November. The U.S. officially withdraws from the World Health Organization. President Trump has slammed the organization for allegedly criticizing his travel ban. Lawmakers are calling President Trump's response during the pandemic chaotic and incoherent. The withdrawal goes into effect July of next year. New research shows asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic COVID-19 cases are a primary driver of how the virus is spreading. Using existing research, scientists have found silent transmission could be responsible for half of COVID-19 cases. The model says COVID-19 may be the most contagious during the pre-symptomatic stage, which is uncommon for a respiratory infection. Riverside County officials are pleading with people to cooperate with contact tracers. Contact tracers are health investigators who reach out to people who test positive for COVID-19 to trace where those people have been and who they could have exposed. The county director of public health says people are not providing complete information, possibly out of fear or mistrust. The county does not share this information with other government agencies, the public, or the media. Novavax is the latest company to get money from the U.S. government for testing and manufacturing a potential coronavirus vaccine. Today's $1.6 billion award is the largest yet for Operation Warp Speed. The money will be for completing late-stage clinical development that will involve up to 30,000 people. A phase 1 clinical trial began in May. Those results are expected at the end of the month. The Environmental Protection Agency has approved 2 disinfectants to kill the virus that causes COVID-19 from surfaces. The products are Lysol Disinfectant Spray and Lysol Disinfectant Max Cover Mist. The EPA says there are more than 420 products that meet the agency's criteria for use against the virus. But only the 2 Lysol sprays have so far passed direct lab testing. Let's take a look at our local COVID-19 numbers. Riverside County officially surpasses 500 coronavirus-related deaths. We've hit 20,000 cases total. Just in the past day, there have been over 500 new cases reported in Riverside County, 140 of those in the Coachella Valley. We saw 20 new deaths in the county and 6 of those here in the desert. Indio has the most cases with 1,622 cases. Indio also has the most deaths at 40. Stress and anxiety are at an all-time high in the pandemic. In the month of May, research shows there was a 42% jump in drug overdoses in the U.S. And here at home, the Betty Ford Center says it's getting flooded with calls about mental health issues. The center is taking its support groups online now.
People are gathering, there's small talk before the group begins. People are offering one another encouragement and support. They're able to work through their emotions, identify triggers, and do really much of the same work that they would conventionally outside of COVID-19.
Research is underway to see how effective the virtual group therapy is during the pandemic. In what must be an agonizing time for parents, teachers, and students with the school year fast approaching, schools are announcing they have plans about getting kids back in the classroom. For many, that includes bringing students back sooner rather than later. Susan McGinnis has the latest.
As the U.S. races toward a startling 3 million coronavirus cases, the nation's schools are rolling out plans for the fall, learning tough lessons on keeping students educated but safe.
This is a really crucial time for their social and emotional development.
With outbreaks linked to large gatherings, schools at all levels are wrestling with whether to keep students at home. Princeton, Georgetown, and Harvard universities announcing half or less of students will be allowed back on campus, trying to avoid what's happening right now at the University of Washington, where more than 120 students connected to a fraternity house have tested positive. And as cases soar in Florida, the Education Commissioner ordering in-person learning for all school districts. In Texas, San Antonio schools adding days to the calendar, just like other systems add snow days.
If we have outbreaks at schools where we can shut down a school for a number of days and still make up that time.
President Trump continuing to downplay the risk and insisting schools must open.
We're very much going to put pressure on governors and everybody else to open the schools, to get them open.
The administration warning international students, if your school doesn't hold in-person classes, you'll have to leave the country. That on the same day, Dr. Anthony Fauci warns
we are still knee-deep in the first wave of this.
While different schools will offer different plans, all students can expect school to look a lot different this year as educators learn how to deal with the pandemic. Susan McGinnis, NBC News, Washington.
Money. Apparently nearly 800,000 Americans are missing their money because, well, apparently it's in the trash can. Could that be you? And we all know traveling by air is risky right now during the pandemic, but just how safe or unsafe are airplanes? And what are airlines doing differently? We're taking you inside later in the show. Kanye West's fashion brand Yeezy reportedly got up to $5 million in government coronavirus aid loans. The government's Paycheck Protection Program was intended to help small businesses keep workers during the pandemic, but many large corporations received the money instead. Now, if you haven't gotten a stimulus check yet, you may have actually thrown it away. To speed up the delivery of economic impact payments, the Treasury Department mailed prepaid debit cards to some 4 million Americans without telling anyone. The cards were issued by MetaBank and came in a plain envelope from Money Network Cardholder Services. The Treasury Department is sending out letters about getting a replacement card if you threw it away. The Federal Trade Commission says Americans have lost more than $77 million to coronavirus fraud. Experts say fraud is typically underreported, so the real tally is likely much higher than that. Scammers have reportedly targeted federal relief money, such as stimulus checks and unemployment benefits. So let's see here. So there's scammers out there telling you that you have money to trick you into giving over information, but then there's actually real money that people are throwing away. Mike, it's kind of a mess, don't you think?
All I know is that I'm going to be digging through the garbage when I get home. Live look from your Agua Caliente casino cam. There's some trees moving and a camera that's rocking. We'll see that wind go down and those temperatures go up when we come back. Welcome back. Well, we're playing a little game called Find the Moon. I'll give you a second. Ah, you got it. Look at that, right under our Walter Clark logo. Gorgeous, bright moon out there. Now remember, it was full on Sunday, but still plenty of verve there. Not a whole lot going on along 111. And it's one of those nights where if you're in one of the Cove communities, like say La Quinta or Cathedral City, or in this case, Rancho Mirage along 111, not seeing a whole lot of tree movement. But as we were seeing going into the commercial break, you're seeing those winds that are just pushing the trees along the I-10 corridor there. That will continue to be a thing tonight. Let's take a look at everything we got going on. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. So there is a low pressure system way off near British Columbia there that gave us some mild influence. That's why temperatures have pulled back slightly, still 5 degrees above average, but again, not scorching, especially compared to where we will be going this weekend. We've got some high pressure over top of us. A couple things I want to point out. Monsoon season started on July 1st. We are starting to see some remnants of that creeping up from the south there, and that will play into our forecast this weekend. Another thing that we are seeing is hurricane season. Now, we've had tropical storms, we've had a couple tropical depressions, both in the Atlantic and the Pacific, but we have not had a named storm yet. Well, that could change. In fact, 1 o'clock tomorrow, that could change. Christina, which is currently a tropical storm, could develop into a Category 1 hurricane and actually work itself up to a Category 2 24 hours later on Thursday there. The great news with Christina is going to make its way out into the Pacific Ocean. Plenty of warm water, no wind shear, but it looks like by the time it gets to Hawaii, it'll just be wound down. We don't normally see systems that affect Hawaii until we get to about August. We saw that last year for sure. So we'll keep a close eye on Christina and let you know if anything needs updates there. The big story for us, and hopefully I put that big enough for you to see, the excessive heat watch will be in place for the Coachella Valley and everything across the Southwest, basically out towards Arizona, New Mexico as well. Temperatures are going to scorch down towards the Imperial Desert and right here at home as well. How warm? Well, it's going to get that warm. On Saturday and Sunday, we'll get into the 115 to 118 range. But here's where it gets fun. You remember that moisture that I was showing you creeping up from the south? Well, that will be making its way up as well. Now, I'm not expecting any afternoon thunderstorms. You'll see some cumulus around the mountains, but what it will do is raise dew points into the 50s. Somebody on Facebook was just asking if that will be affecting your swamp cooler. From what I understand, not so much. Now, your results may vary. I've heard lots of answers from lots of different people, but until you get the dew points into about the 60 range, it doesn't really become a problem. Again, you know your swamp cooler way better than I do. Taking a look at the weekend here, 118 is our high on Saturday, 121 is the record, 116 on Sunday, again 4 degrees below record territory as well. Thermal gets a lot of attention this time of year. 116 is where we'll be on Saturday, again 3 degrees below the record, and it looks like we'll fall shy on Sunday as well, but still pretty darn hot. Let's talk about those dew points and the relative humidity. Next couple of days, it's going to be desert. 25 will be our lowest dew point there. That's going to put relative humidity in the 5% range. But then as we go to the weekend, 40 and pow, 50, 20% humidity. It's going to feel muggy, and we'll have that southerly flow coming in as well. Current temperatures right now ranging from 80 in the Yucca Valley to 93 in Coachella, 50 in Big Bear. Wow, 64 in Idlewild. And there's those future winds as we go through the rest of the night. We've got some single digits headed our way. Tomorrow we're going to re-rack and do the whole thing. It gets gusty again tomorrow evening. Wednesday, we start off in the low to mid 70s. We warm to that 110 range. Relaxed dew points is going to make a dry day. 111 in Indio, 100 in Joshua Tree, and 78 in Big Bear. Comfort Air 7-day forecast shows a warm and muggy weekend headed our way. Look at that. The overnight on Saturday will be 88 degrees, but hang in there. On Tuesday, we'll get it closer to the normal, 113 by day, 80 by night.
Or not more sad news, just more news about Hamilton. I'm sorry. The renowned Revolutionary Era musical debuted on Disney Plus over the weekend, and it's all happy. Here's David Daniel with more.
Two Virginians and an immigrant walk into a room diametrically opposed foes.
Hamilton's debut on Disney Plus was revolutionary. The film version of the Broadway hit premiered Friday, and the research firm Apptopia calculates weekend downloads of the Disney Plus mobile app were up more than 70% over previous weekends. That put hundreds of thousands of new customers in the room where it happened. And that number just reflects mobile downloads, not signups online or via smart TVs.
That was David Daniel reporting. Sports is next. Stay with us. More and more Americans are flying these days. This past holiday weekend saw the most air travel since the start of the pandemic. But how exactly are the airlines protecting passengers? It's more than just empty middle seats. NBC's Blaine Alexander takes us behind the scenes.
As more people get back on board with air travel, so many are wondering how safe is the air inside the plane. Here's how it works. Inside the cabin, air flows from top to bottom, not side to side between passengers, meaning it comes in from the vents above and is sucked out through vents in the floor. It's run through heavy-grade HEPA filters, similar to those used in hospitals, which pull out more than 99% of particles. That filtered air is mixed with fresh air from outside. On Delta Airlines, they're changing those filters twice as often as recommended.
You may notice that it's dirty on the top where the air has flown into the filter, but it'll be clean on the bottom side.
And what does that show us?
That shows us that the filter's working.
And on every airline, an entirely new batch of air flows into the cabin every 2 to 4 minutes.
So the air quality is quite good on an airplane, better than you'd find in most indoor environments.
So you're saying the air on an airplane is actually cleaner than you would find inside of a grocery store?
Yeah, it's cleaner than probably most people's homes or in schools.
Harvard researcher Dr. Joseph Allen studies airplane air quality.
Does the fact that I'm sitting in such close proximity to somebody almost kind of take away the benefit that you get from clean air?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily take away the benefit to clean air, but certainly we can't do all the physical distancing we'd want to on an airplane.
That's why other precautions are so crucial.
Here on this Delta plane, what you're watching behind me is a sanitization spray. Crews come on board and spray down the entire aircraft between every single flight.
Every surface wiped down, masks required. Vital steps hoping to reassure passengers it's safe to fly. Blaine Alexander, NBC News, Atlanta.
I'm still going to bring those little wipes next time I fly. Sports is up next, so stay with us.
Welcome back. Time now for a look at your NBC Palm Springs sports headlines. According to multiple reports, the 2020 Ryder Cup will be postponed until 2021. Now, it was originally scheduled to take place at Whistling Straits Golf Course in Wisconsin this September. The main concerns were the logistics of bringing players from Europe over to the United States and, of course, holding the event without fans. Sources reportedly told ESPN that the President's Cup, slated for the fall of 2021, will also reportedly get pushed back another year. More retailers are pulling Washington Redskins merchandise from their online stores. Shirts, hats, and other memorabilia are no longer available at Target and Walmart. Nike chose to do the same thing last week when FedEx, the sponsor of the team's stadium, formally asked the team to change its name. Team officials say they will, quote, undergo a thorough review of the team's name. Now, an update on the NBA's attempt to restart their season. Here's a time-lapse video of crews converting a number of Disney World ballrooms into basketball courts. 6 teams travel to Orlando today. The other 16 will go tomorrow and Thursday. All 22 teams participating will play 3 scrimmages each starting on July 22nd, with plans to resume the regular season on July 30th. Good luck. That's going to do it for sports. We'll be right back.
NASA's Curiosity Mars rover is going on a summer road trip like the rest of us. NASA has announced the rover will travel about a mile across the planet to Mount Sharp. By the end of the trip, Curiosity will have climbed a 3-mile tall section of the mountain it's been exploring since 2014. There you go. But the Curiosity rover doesn't have to worry about coronavirus, does it? I don't think so. All right, have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? While the party was nice, the party was pumping. Hey, yeah.